This is a tutorial on the clamp, as you see, mounted to the frame here where the hose goes through to keep the hose, the brake line hose, from vibrating. In past years it was thought that the brake line hose would be faulty and it would go bad and swell from the inside. And I don't believe that's the case. I don't think those hoses ever go bad. And we're going to explain why here. Okay. This here piece here came off this side, the passenger side of this 1986 Chevy C20 pickup. As you see, we're replacing the calipers on both sides. But we noticed that this brake caliper would seize. We couldn't bleed it. Something was lodged in the brake line. And then we heard other advice that these brake lines go bad after a while. Where's that line, Bill? That long line? No, that cable. So what we did was we assumed it was this. The blockage was in the rubber brake line, and we did that by trial and error, by taking apart the metal brake lines ahead of the rubber and behind the rubber, where it went into the master cylinder and when it went up into the brake line to the caliper. And we found out that those areas there, where it went from the master cylinder to the end of the rubber brake line, when we cracked that fitting, it flew the master cylinder fluid, the brake fluid, flowed out. So then we discovered it was in this here rubber line. That's where the blockage was. And we took the rubber line out and blew through it. We couldn't blow through it at all, could we, Bill?
No.
So then we took this line here and we put that down in that hole, and we ran it all the way through, and it would stop every time we ran it through. We couldn't run it through to where the metal was of this here support, the metal support. Then we ran it in the other way, and we noticed that we couldn't run it past the metal support. Okay? Then we pulled out the line, and we realized the blockage was within where the metal support was making contact with the hose. So then we opened up this crease here on the metal support with a screwdriver and wedged it at two opposing screwdrivers and opened it up. And took the pressure off this metal off, and when we did that, we took the pressure off, and we were able now to blow through this rubber line, and the rubber line didn't fail. What happened was, Bill, do you want to explain what happened?
What we came up with a conclusion of is we feel that moisture was getting inside this, between the line and the metal. And in the winter it would expand, leaving room for rust or any kind of debris to get in there. And once it got in there, it wouldn't leave enough room for the line to uncollapse. So we couldn't get that line uncollapsed because of debris between the metal and the rubber hose.
So what you're saying, Bill, basically is what was always commonly thought, it was the hose that was failing. It was the hose, at least in this case, it was always the hose that was failing internally. Well, that's not the case, because we could have saved the hose if we would have took this clamp off, the support clamp, because what this support clamp, it was rusting internally where it made contact with the rubber hose, on the surface of the rubber hose and on the inner surface of the clamp. Over time, since 1986, it would rust, and then water would get in there, and then the water would expand, it would compress the rubber, because the water expands, and then the rust would mix in with the water. and then when the water melted, the rust particulates that was rusting filled in that gap. And it kept filling in and filling in and filling in, compressing the line more and more and more each time. And that's what collapsed this brake line. Because as soon as we opened up the channel, we were able to blow through it. See if you can blow through it again. I can feel the air come. So that's a brake line. We could have saved that line if we would have just opened that channel up, cleaned it out, and took the pressure off. We could have saved that line. Now we lost the line because we didn't know, and we're putting this out to the world to know this.